right, I think I'm live. Uh, so in the last week, I've had an opportunity presented to me to discuss a blockchain development project um, with some people that I do business with, and that really excites me. The opportunity motivates me a great deal to continue pursuing my learnings here. So that's what I intend to do. Uh, for whatever reason, I've been dragging my feet continuing the project. If I had to guess, I would say that reason is largely exhaustion and stress. But we've got time now, and the motivation exists. So I want to continue on learning Solidity, uh, contract development, and I really want to get into ERC20 tokens and NFT uh, development just as side projects. I don't necessarily know if those will be implemented in any way in the, oh dear, dropping shit all over the place. I don't know if those standards or protocols will really be implemented in this design project, this opportunity that's been brought to me, but they're things of interest anyway. They're topics of interest anyway, so I really want to get to that. This morning, however, I believe we will be uh, saying goodbye to Remix as an IDE. We'll be implementing Python and Brownie into Visual Studio Code, um, and that will be our development environment moving forward, is my understanding based on uh, this tutorial that we've been following by Free Code Camp, which once again, I'm actually going to change this right now. I'm going to add it to the description because anyone who's interested in this and wants to go at a speed faster than me should 100% check them out. I have learned what I know of three programming languages, largely based on just the massive courses that they upload completely free. Like, times sure have changed. It boggles my mind that there was a point where I paid tens of thousands of dollars to learn Java in university, and now there are 31-hour videos learning C++ basically from start to end, just available for free online. Like, take advantage of that, people. Conventional academia is not holding up to the things that you can learn online, and then it becomes incumbent upon you to prove those skills to employers without those stupid pieces of paper they charge for. Rant complete. Let me just get this added to the description. All right, done. Without further ado, let's see what this Chainlink guy has to say about web3.py. I've not implemented this into Visual Studio Code at all, so this will be a learning experience for us all.
Now, we've been working with Remix so far to start our smart contract and our Solidity development journey. Remix is an incredibly powerful what's known as a web IDE, or an integrated development environment. And in my opinion, Remix should always be the starting ground for anybody looking to start their smart contract journey, because it is a wonderfully friendly way to really show what's going on behind the scenes, and it's really easy to see everything we're doing with Ethereum, with Chainlink, and with our smart contracts. Now, it does have some limitations though. It's really hard to integrate other parts of different projects. It has some limited support for testing or custom deployments. It's a little tricky to save files locally. You need an internet connection to actually interact with it, and it doesn't have Python. So in order for us to deploy, test, and automate everything about our smart contract development cycle, we want to connect our Solidity and our smart contracts with a more traditional programming language like Python. This way, we can customize our entire development environment in any way that we like. We're first going to teach you all how to work with what's known as web3.py, which is an incredibly powerful Python package for doing everything that we want to do with smart contracts. Then, once we learn some of the basics,
Let's take a moment to appreciate that alliteration. An incredibly powerful Python package. Well done, well done.
of web3.py, then we'll move on to Brownie, which is a smart contract development framework built on top of web3.py, which makes our lives even easier. However, it's still really important to learn web3.py first because this will teach you what's going on behind the scenes of Brownie. Now, for the rest of this course, I'm going to be working with Visual Studio Code, which is an incredibly powerful text editor that will give us a lot of formatting and a lot of really nice tools to work with deploying and interacting with our smart contracts. If you've already got VS Code and Python and your entire coding setup set up the way that you like it, feel free to use the timestamps in the description to skip ahead to the next section. You'll often hear people referring to this as VS Code or Visual Studio Code. But just to point out, this is not what you're looking for right in front of you here. Visual Studio is a different application. Make sure you're on Visual Studio Code. If you want to be a total hardo and just work with Vim or Emacs or whatever else you want to do, you absolutely can, but I'm going to go through setting up Visual Studio Code the way that I like it. And if you guys want to follow along, I highly recommend it because it's going to make your life a lot easier. There's a link to download Visual Studio Code in the GitHub repository. Basically, all you have to do is come to the site right here and you can hit this big download button. It should recognize what operating system that you're on, be it Windows, be it...
All right, so through the magic of internet streaming, I've already downloaded this. I've got it set up. I've used it a couple times. So let me just change my window capture to have VS Code. Poop. Well enough. All right.
Mac or some other operating system. And if it doesn't, you can go ahead and hit this little drop down and pick one there. So let's go ahead and download Visual Studio Code and open it up. Awesome. Once you've downloaded Visual Studio Code, this is approximately what you should be seeing.
Watch
There's
this.
a fantastic getting started section here where if you're brand new to VS Code and you want to learn a little bit more quickly, you absolutely can. And we have some links as well in our GitHub repository, giving you a crash course in VS Code if you want to learn more. Let's set this up though, so it's going to be really friendly for us to be doing our smart contract development here. So first, we want to go to this extensions tab. It looks like these little blocks thing right here. And first, we're going to look up Python, and you want to install.
All right, he's already gotten ahead of me because I was messing around with the
approximately what you should be
messing around with the stream
There's
configuration.
a fantastic getting started section here where if you're brand new to VS Code and you want to learn a little bit more quickly, you absolutely can. And we have some links as well in our GitHub repository, giving you a crash course in VS Code if you want to learn more. Let's set this up though, so it's going to be really friendly for us to be doing our smart contract development here. So first, we want to go to this extensions tab. It looks like these little blocks thing right here. And first, we're going to look up Python, and you want to install this Python extension right here. This is going to make our lives a lot easier for interacting with Python and doing a lot of things with Python. Then you're going to want to go ahead and download.
All right, let's get this installed before he continues on. Okay, done. Okay, install. Just reading through this. Well, we're gonna hope he goes through some of this.
Download this and install this Solidity extension. This is going to make formatting our Solidity a lot easier. Now we want to download Python if you haven't already. So go ahead to python.org. Let's go to downloads, and it should recognize what operating system that you're on. And you can just go ahead and hit the download button and then follow the steps to download this.
I will have to do this real quick. So all I've done is I've gone to python.org, I've gone to downloads, I've downloaded Python, I'm going through the install process now. Setup was successful. Online tutorial documentation. At your terminal, type Py to launch Python, or search for Python in your Start menu. Disable path length limit. Maybe there's a way to do that later. Let's see what this guy has to say.
I've already got it downloaded, so I'm not going to walk through this.
Fine.
Okay, great. Now that we have Python installed, one of the other amazing things about VS Code is you can actually open a terminal up inside of Visual Studio Code. The way you can open your own terminal, if this is your VS Code, you can go over on this top bar to Terminal and select New Terminal. And you'll see something that looks like this. It might be a bash, it might be a ZCH, it might be a PowerShell. There's a lot of different types of terminals that you'll be able to see by looking right here. We can now test to see if Python is installed correctly. If we type in Python space -- version, we should get something that looks like this. The exact version of Python does
Okay, so that's like a horrible start. Maybe I have to. I mean, let's restart Visual Studio Code maybe. I don't know. What version did I just download though? Man, this is why I do not like fucking dealing with Python. It brought me to the Microsoft Store, and it allows me to download 3.10. But, like, what did I just download off Python's website and install then? Does not fucking make any sense to me at all. Alright, 3.10.2 is the same version I would have downloaded off of python.org, so I guess that'll do. Now, this guy trying to sell me followers can promptly fuck right off.
Doesn't really matter here, but ideally you're at least on Python 3.8. If Python -- version doesn't work, you could also try Python 3 -- version. Now, if neither one of those works, we actually have a number of troubleshooting tips in the GitHub repository for this course. And oftentimes, a quick Google search on whatever error that you have, you'll get a link which will lead you to the answer. But if that Google search doesn't lead you to the answer, then just go ahead and drop an issue or a conversation associated with your issue on the GitHub repo associated with this course. In particular, there are a couple of common errors that I've definitely seen a number of times, so if you see an issue on your instance that matches something on the screen here, definitely 100% be sure to check out those troubleshooting tips. Sometimes just installing some of these applications is really the hardest part of doing the entire coding journey here. So please make sure you have Python and VS Code installed correctly before moving on. And don't be discouraged if this doesn't work exactly the way that it should right away. Now, if you're on a Mac, you can actually hit Control backtick and it will toggle back and forth between having the terminal open and closing it. I find this really helpful and I use it all the time instead of hitting the buttons. A key tip for productivity is going to be using keyboard shortcuts instead of clicking around all the time. You'll be much faster. Okay, great. We have Python installed. We have Python and Solidity extensions of Visual Studio Code installed. Let's start working on a new project. So in our terminal, we can create some folder. I've already created a demos folder here. You can create one as well if you'd like by doing mkdir demos. Since I've already done it, the file already exists, and then cd into demos. You can type clear, or if you're on a Mac, Command K to clear the terminal. Now, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working with simple storage again, the exact same contracts, but instead we're going to be using web3.py. So we're going to make a new directory inside of our demos folder / directory called web3.py simple storage, and we're going to cd into this new folder right here. Now again, all the completed code is going to be in our GitHub, and there's going to be a link to everything that we do in this folder in this GitHub. So you can always refer to that if you get lost. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to have our Visual Studio Code know that we're in this folder. So we can go ahead and click this files icon and hit open folder. And I'm just going to go to this web3. So we can go ahead and click this files icon and hit open folder. And I'm just going to go to this web3.py simple storage.
Okay, give me a sec. I have to navigate to this.
Storage and hit open. And another VS Code will actually pop up. We can see on the left-hand side here, we have a folder. This.
Hold up. Do you trust authors of the files in this folder? Um, yes, because the authors are me. Files in this folder. If you don't trust the authors of these files, we recommend to continue in restricted mode as the files. Okay, that's fine.
Will show all the different files and folders in our web3.py simple storage directory. Let's go ahead and create a file .sol. We can right click on this area and select new file and do simple storage.sol. And then we can go back to our simple storage.sol in Remix, copy everything, and then paste it into here. If you don't have it up, remember you can always refer back to the GitHub repository, which will have it in there for you.
Okay, I'm going to grab that real quick. Bam.
Awesome. Now we have our Solidity in its own file called simplestorage.sol. You'll notice that some of the words are actually highlighted different colors. This is known as syntax highlighting, and it's due to the fact that we added the Solidity extension in. It makes reading this code a lot easier. Now that this file is in here, we'll see that we have this little dot here. Whenever you see this little dot, this means that your VS Code file isn't saved. So we want to always save it. Otherwise, when we compile or we go to write a script, things might not work correctly. So we can save it by going up to File and then selecting Save. Or again, you're going to want to learn how to do the keyboard shortcuts because you're going to want to hit Save often. For Mac, it's Command S. And for Windows, it's Control S. Now, the other thing that you'll see is you get this red line here. This is VS Code's way of telling us it thinks that there's an error at this position. So this is really just the extension being a little bit confused here. And we can safely ignore this. And normally when I'm coding, I do just ignore it. We're often going to be flipping back and forth between compiler versions. So oftentimes this isn't really a helpful warning here. But if it is really bothersome, you could right click it and do something like Solidity change global compiler version, or we can go to Code, Preferences, Settings. Let's close this so we can see some more things in here.
I will 100% be ignoring this.
And we'll come to this Solidity extension config. What we can do then is scroll down, and you can see Solidity compile using remote version. This will allow us to choose what version we want to compile with. If we do 0.6.0 and hit save, and go back to simple storage, you'll see the red line is now gone. While we have this up, another really helpful piece that we can do here is we can add what's called a formatter. So if we scroll down to Solidity formatter, you'll see that this enables/disables the Solidity formatter. We can go from none to prettier. Then we'll also look up format on save, and we want to make sure we have this editor format on save checkmarked. What we can do then is we can come over to simplestorage.sol, and maybe I've got some bad formatting in here. We'll move over favorite number, string name, and put a whole bunch of new spaces in here or something. Now, if I hit save, it automatically reformats our file to look a lot nicer.
That seems like a really useful one. Let's go back to do that one. It's in settings. Solidity.
If we scroll down to Solidity formatter, you'll see that this enables/disables the Solidity formatter. We can go from none to prettier. Then we'll also look up format on save, and we want to make sure we have this editor format on save checkmarked. What we can do then is we can come over to simplestorage.sol, and maybe I've got some bad formatting in here. We'll move over favorite number, string name, and put a whole bunch of new spaces in here or something. Now, if I hit save, it automatically reformats our file to look a lot nicer. So to recap,
Nice.
we want to turn on format on save. And if you get issues with a red line under Pragma Solidity, you can just change the compiler version in your settings here. Now, while we're in here, we're also going to go ahead and set up our Python formatting as well. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to install the black Python formatter. So we're going to open up our terminal here. And whenever you install Python, it comes pre-installed with this package called pip. To check to see if you have pip installed correctly, run pip -- version. Now we can install the black formatter by running pip install black. I already have it installed, so it's going to be pretty quick for me. Then we'll come to our settings and we'll look up Python.
Oh, let's see what all these warnings say. Do I need it to be on path? That's what I don't know. Alright, whatever, we're gonna ignore those.
Formatting, and we'll scroll down to Python formatting provider.
Formatting doesn't have an S in it.
You might have auto-pep8 or none in here. You're going to want to change it to black. This way, whenever we save our Python files now, they will also get automatically formatted to be very readable and really nice. And just to note, for my demos in Solidity, I don't always have format on save for Solidity. I do have format on save for my Python, but I'm still going to highly recommend you have format on save for both your Python and for your Solidity anyways. So how are we going to actually deploy this? Well, this is where our Python is going to come into play. Let's go ahead and
You happy now?
create a new file on the left here, and we'll call it deploy.py. Now let's go into this deploy.py file, and let's start actually figuring out how we can deploy this in Python. And this is the part of the course where we start using Python here. If you're unfamiliar with Python or a little bit weak on Python, there's a fantastic free code camp course that goes through.
Python was the first language I ever used in high school, I think it was. And I also took a several week course. I kind of speed ran it online in the beginning of the pandemic through the University of Toronto. They have like some Coursera remote learning stuff. So I took a course on Python there. So I've got a little bit of background here, but honestly, it's going to be greatly mixed in with all the other stuff I've done since. Like most of my experience since then has been C#. So
through all the basics of Python. If you want to learn more, I definitely recommend checking it out. However, we are going to walk you through all the scripts that we write anyways, so don't be afraid to just jump in and follow along with what we're doing here, even if you have no experience. So the first thing that we're going to want to actually do is read this simple storage Solidity file. We need to get this into this deploy script so that our Python file knows what it's going to deploy. So how do we do this? Well, we're going to type with open quote / simple storage.sol comma r as file simple storage file equals file.read. Now what is this actually doing? Well, it's saying that we're going to execute some code inside this indented area after the colon, and then once this code is finished, we're actually going to close this file. Because right now we're opening it, we're going to close it once it's done. The file that we're going to open is going to be this simplestorage.sol, which is located right here in this same directory that we're in. We're going to only read from it, and we're going to call it file. And then we're going to read all the contents of this file and place it in a variable simple storage file. So then we can go ahead and write a print statement, print simple storage file. And if you hit save here, you'll see that it automatically gets formatted, which is really nice. If you want to run black yourself, you can just type black dot, and it'll automatically format all the Python files in your folder here. You'll know that you're doing it right if you add a whole bunch of new lines and then save it. Anyways, enough on formatting. Let's head on down to the terminal and let's call python deploy.py. And we can see our terminal printed everything in simple storage file. And let's call python deploy.py. And we can see our terminal print.
Oh, I haven't saved this yet. Adoy. Okay, so effectively this tiny Python script is just printing the contents of simplestorage.sol. This is the exact Solidity code contained within that file. So that's pretty self-explanatory, I suppose. Although, again, already with this very simple Python syntax, I'm like, buh? Like, I kind of know what it does, but like, I wouldn't be able to recreate even that of my own volition. That's
everything in
a
simple
shame.
storage file, which is perfect. Now, our Python script has what it needs to actually get started working with our Solidity. Now, something you'll see I do a lot is I save a lot. And if you're looking for some keyboard shortcuts, you can always do Command P, add a little bracket here, and look up keyboard shortcuts reference. And click this. And it'll bring you to this keyboard's reference page based off of what operating system that you have. All right, great. So now that we can actually read from our simplestorage.sol file, we actually have to compile it. Because remember, back in Remix, every single time we did anything with our files, we had to compile them first. So we need some compiler in Python. Luckily, there is a fantastic Python package called pysulkx that does exactly this. Now, I also want to point out, though, that pysulkx is actually a fork of this package called pysulk. Now, you can still use pysulk. However, I'm going to highly recommend that you use pysulkx instead, as pysulkx is a lot more actively maintained.
Man, this guy just like jumps back and forth between screens just constantly.
Use pysulkx instead, as pysulkx is a lot more actively maintained than Ethereum pysulk. We can install it with pip install pysulkx. We could even hit this little copy button, move back on over here, paste it in, and hit enter. Again, I've already installed it, so it's pretty quick for me. The way that we can use it now is by importing it into our Python here. So we'll say from sulkx import compile standard. Compile standard is going to be this main function that we actually use to compile this. code. So let's go ahead and compile this main port into our Python here. So we'll say from sulkx now is by importing it into our Python here. So we'll say from sulk
Hmm. SOLCX. SOLC. Is that what it was? Okay, well, we've hit a fucking wall. I'm not sure why.
use PySulk. However, I'm going to highly recommend that you use PySulkx instead, as PySulkx is a lot more actively maintained than Ethereum PySulk. We can install it with pip install PySulkx. We could even hit this little copy button. Back on over here, paste it in, and hit enter. Again, I've already installed it, so it's
Okay, successfully installed. Let's upgrade pip, see if that changes anything. What? Okay, so that has been upgraded.
pretty quick for me. The way that we can use it now is by importing it into our Python here. So we'll say from sulkx import compile.
Why doesn't it recognize it now? Oh, man. Well, we're going to hit the Python Discord maybe. I haven't actually been in the Python Discord in a long time, so I'm just kind of getting my bearings. I'm sorry if this is boring. This is part of the learning process, I presume.
Compile standard.
Oh, it's
Compile
not
standard is going to be this main function
compile
that we actually
standard.
use to compile this code. So let's go ahead and compile.
What am I trying to ask here? Um, I was I was in the middle of typing my question into the Python Reddit, and then someone like locked the channel on me. All right, question posted. There's some fucking shit popping off in my neighbor's house. Oh, I'm getting a reply to my question already. Cool. It's requested that I show him the error, so I just took a screen snip of the tooltip when I hover over it there. asked me to verify that the package is in my pip list, so I've done that. Doesn't seem to work either. This doesn't make any sense. I wonder if it's path related. Oh, we have another person chiming in. I kind of feel like it might be related to said something about changing this. Same problem. We've got a couple nerds that are of higher level than me looking into this. This is a perfect opportunity to say anyone who's trying to like learn programming, learn anything like that, uh, get into the Discord community of whatever language you're trying to learn. Um, it is a huge boon having people to lean on to ask questions for. The guy in this help channel, all he did was say, "Oh, it's working fine for me." Like, that's fantastic. I don't know what my problem is. Please assist. Like, the fuck was this? got 3 people trying to figure this out now. Perhaps I might be using a different Python interpreter than the one I installed the module in, it says. I don't know what that means. I'm going to drink some chocolate milk about it. This stuff, it's fantastic. This is the worst part of Python by far. I never have problems like this, just like getting the goddamn uh, fucking language to work the way I want it to. No other language. seems our goal this morning is going to be getting Sulk X to be blue. That's our fucking goal. Cool. So all I did was exactly what the IDE in this video told me to do, and the resolution I'm getting is uninstall. Okay, so I've uninstalled the 3.10 version from the Microsoft Store. Okay, we're just gonna reinstall Python. What a fucking nightmare. This is why I jumped ship from Python almost immediately. I was like, yeah, data analysis, data science, yeah, it's a lot of fun, lots of fucking spreadsheets and shit, lots of data. No, no, just dealing with the importing of all these packages makes me want to kill myself. Okay, where's my downloads folder? Disable the path length limit. So no, I'm not at a bloody school. I realized I was just reading that to myself online. They asked if I was on a school computer because they thought perhaps a proxy was getting in the way. And I replied, I'm 35 years old and self-teaching Solidity development. I'm not in a bloody school. Okay, I'm going to restart my IDE. Done. Now, is why I need to build a community of people that are smarter than me to assist real time in chat. We need to learn together. There's a lot of shit that I don't know anything about. My helpful nerds have stopped replying. This isn't good. Just trying to like repair it. I don't even know what I have to do. just like modifying some features on the installation. Like I really don't know. I'm grasping for straws. Hey. Okay. Okay. The fuck? Okay, so hmm, like maybe I'll just try.
A fork of this package called PySolk. Now you can still use PySolk. However, I'm going to highly recommend that you use PySolk X instead.
can't get it to fucking work. I... This is us begging for help on the internet.
As PySolc X is a lot more actively maintained than Ethereum PySolc, we can install it with pip install PySolc X. We could even hit this little copy button, move back on over here, paste it in, and hit enter. Again, I've already installed it, so it's pretty quick for me. The way that we can use it now is by importing it into our Python here. So we'll say from solcx import compile standard. Compile standard is going to be this main function that we actually use to compile this code. So let's go ahead and compile our Solidity. We're going to save our compiled code.
Well, we've run into a bit of an impasse here, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to do a little bit of research and see what it is exactly I'm doing wrong. Remove. So, rather than having the video make no progress here, I'm going to probably end the stream for now. All I'm going to be doing off stream will be resolving the issue. I'm going to find a solution, and then the next time I stream, I will advertise what that solution is. Wish me luck, everyone. Cheers. Bye.